Breaking news, a rapidly growing fire in Yolo County. Flames tearing through trees right next to ranches and cattle as crews scramble to contain the flames.
And a hot, dry north wind is with us. It looks like conditions are going to stay this way with a high fire danger that should last into Sunday. But I'll tell you what's going to change things coming up.
And thousands across the nation protest demanding families separated at the border be reunited. The message from protesters in Sacramento and their push for change in immigration policy.
This is KCRA 3. We begin with breaking news.
And that breaking news is out of Yolo County, where wildfire there is rapidly growing. It's burning near Gwenda, which is just north of Lake Berryessa. And time-lapse video from our Sacramento Skycam shows how massive the plume of smoke is from those flames.
The fire has now burned 1,000 acres with no containment, and evacuations are underway. Several roads are closed, including part of Highway 20. CAL FIRE attacking the flames from the ground and in the air.
KCRA 3's Tom Miller is there live with the very latest. Tom.
Hey, this is near the middle of the fire. You can see this is just some brush that continues to burn along the mountainside here. This part primarily already got sort of burned through, and then you can see down here, these are just some of the hot shots that are just keeping an eye on this fire, making sure that it doesn't continue to spread. You can see they have chainsaws, they have hose and picks in their hands, so they're ready to do some work if needed. And then beyond that, in sort of that cluster of trees, that's where a home is. And you can see the fire already burned this mountainside sort of down toward the home. And fortunately, they were able to put a stop to it before it reached the home there. Like you mentioned, this is 1,000 acres. There are evacuations in place, those between County Road 63 to County Road 76, west of Highway 16 in the Murphy Ranch area. Now, I want to show you some video from earlier. This was from the north side of the fire, and this just sort of showed just how big that plume was getting as firefighters started to race in. It's really difficult to gain access to this fire, and so a lot of the trucks were just making their own roads, going over these foothills that lead into the mountains here. The fire started at 2:12 this afternoon. It's burning in a lot of grass, brush, oak, and there's lots of canyons in this area, so it's starting to burn, from what I'm told, to the south. It also appears to be burning to the west, and the area that it's burning in, on the positive side, is less populated where it's headed, but it's also more dense and more rural. So we're going to continue to be out here, see what this fire does, but for now, reporting live in Yolo County, Tom Miller, KCRA 3 News.
Okay, Tom, thanks for that update.
Meanwhile, a wildfire that we are tracking this evening, the Pawnee Fire in Lake County, has spurred new evacuations, and those living in the Double Eagle Ranch area are being asked to leave after the fire jumped containment lines this afternoon. A part of Highway 20 is also closed. The fire has been burning there since last weekend, charring more than 13,000 acres. CAL FIRE is still reporting that the Pawnee Fire is 73% contained.
And now to Placer County, where we are following a small grass fire there. This video from the Placer County Sheriff's Office shows a small structure and a fence on fire. There was also a pile of tires involved. Fire crews were quick to attack it with airdrops and stopped it from spreading at 5 acres.
And some major progress in the Waverly fire burning between San Joaquin and Calaveras counties. These are new aerial photos from CAL FIRE showing the acres of charred grass. They now say that the fire has burned more than 12,000 acres and containment is at 65%. All evacuation orders have been lifted.
Well, dry and triple-digit heat are the big weather headlines today. And as we take a live look at conditions across Northern California right now, from Fairfield, Sacramento, Stockton, the wind really picking up in Modesto. The humidity very low, and there is a north wind. All of these conditions increase the dangers of wildfires. Before we get to the latest on the Waverly fire, let's bring in Dirk Verdoorn to see how long these fire dangers will be lingering in our area.
Yeah, okay, the fire danger is with us, and it's going to be with us through the night tonight and tomorrow, because we're not expecting a big drop in temperatures overnight tonight. We will cool off, but again, temperatures should eventually make their way into the upper 60s to lower 70s, but that should be about it by Sunday morning. But the thing you see here, this is a satellite image showing you over the past 3 hours, and you can see the smoke plumes from 2 fires. You have the first fire, that's in Lake County, that's the Pawnee Fire, and that has just a smaller plume that's working its way from the fire center to the south towards Santa Rosa. And then you get into where the county fire is here and through the western portion of Yolo County, and you have a much bigger plume. It's burning a lot harder. It's got a lot more acreage that's burning at this time. And so that plume of smoke makes its way all the way past Vallejo and is working its way towards San Francisco. So again, the location of these fires, the Pawnee Fire, which is just north of Highway 20 in Lake County. And again, you just jumped the containment line, and so that's why we're getting that plume of smoke. This fire just starting today and really taking off, and that's the bigger concern, I'm sure, is this fire has been going and they're having to now start a whole new, again, getting everybody up and around this fire and getting things organized to fight that fire. Winds aren't too terribly strong, but they are coming from the north, so we have north to northeast winds in through Lake County and Napa counties as well as Yolo County, but it's not just the wind, it's the temperature. We have a lot of heat out there. We have upper 90s in through Lake County and through northern Napa County, but in the valley we have temperatures that are in the triple digits currently, with Woodland at 102, Yuba City 102 degrees. So that's the kind of heat that they're dealing with fighting these fires. Not good conditions. Also, we have the humidity very, very low in most spots. Again, down around 15% or lower. As you get closer to these fires, humidities are going to be ranging between 5 to 10%. So that just makes it all the easier for those fires to move along. And so you can see that plume again making its way towards San Francisco. But the good news is that you have the marine layer coming up from the south, kind of the melding of the two. And that means we are going to have some changes for the cooler coming about, and a shift in the winds, which is something that's desperately needed to help drive up those humidities and make it a little bit easier to fight these fires. So that's the latest here. Now back over to you.
We like that marine layer. Thanks for that. All right, Dirk. Well, when the Waverly fire started yesterday afternoon, Milton residents began helping fight the fire right alongside fire crews.
In some instances, not only fighting the flames from their own property, but their neighbors as well. KCRA 3's Tish Palmadesi was in Milton today talking to residents about their experience.
You could feel the heat, and then all the smoke you couldn't see.
It was scary. There was a lot of flames that came across the flat there.
Charred hills and valleys, acres of grazing land blackened in the town of Milton by the quick-moving Waverly fire that burned throughout the night.
It came from the top of that hill to us in probably 5 minutes.
Roy Orlando's home sits overlooking his 300-acre ranch on Milton Road. He and a few neighboring ranchers helped fight off quick-moving flames side by side with fire crews.
I couldn't see, you couldn't breathe. And so we were just trying to run around and get to an area where we could breathe, and the wind would shift and we'd be able to come back in.
A shift in the winds Friday night fed the fire, extending it into neighboring counties.
We didn't know if it was going to jump and come up here or go on to our pasture.
Anita's family ranch shares a border with Orlando's, but sits in Stanislaus County. She and her husband sat for hours Friday, carefully watching the fire move, taking these pictures. She credits neighbors working together to hold back the flames, allowing only minimal damage to her land.
Some other people from the area came in and they were fighting it by hand, and they stopped it at our property line. We were lucky.
Milton is known as a ranching town in Calaveras County, with hillsides and acreage perfect for cattle to graze. But now, with as much acreage that has burned from this fire, ranchers may have to move their cattle elsewhere.
We've had people saying that they have property available to put the cattle. I talked to a neighbor. He lost 4,000 or 5,000 acres, and so he's moving cattle wherever he can.
Evacuation orders went into effect at 9:30 p.m. Friday, but a majority of the ranchers along Milton Road stayed behind, waiting in their cars, keeping an eye on flames throughout the night, and working together to move each other's cattle when the fire got too close.
Our neighbors were so helpful. I'm just very thankful. Like I say, we're very fortunate. They got it under control, and that's all. No one was hurt. And all the other stuff we'll be able to fix.
In Calaveras County, Tish Palmadesi, KCRA 3 News.
According to the Red Cross, of the 60 homes that were evacuated, 3 people used the evacuation center, but only for a few hours before they left to stay with family. The Red Cross says 10% of those evacuated usually utilize its centers, mostly choosing to stay with nearby family instead. And to keep track of the fire conditions in the state and the triple-digit heat, just download the free KCRA 3 app. Turning to other news now, thousands rally across the nation to keep immigrant families together. Today, groups demonstrated in 600 cities all across the country to protest against the separation of children from their parents at the border and pushing to reunite families that have already been separated. Rallies were held from Boston to Atlanta, plus Washington, D.C., New York, and Dallas.
Meanwhile, here in California, rallies also held in San Francisco and Los Angeles drew hundreds of people. They marched, held signs, and chanted their support for immigrants. Marchers in San Francisco blocked traffic coming off of the highway as they headed down busy roads to the Civic Center where they gathered.
And back here in Sacramento, protesters also gathered on Capitol Mall demanding a change to the immigration system.
And we are supposed to be the place where people can come to be safe. That is what this country was founded on.
And these rallies capping several weeks of outrage of policies that have resulted in more than 2,000 immigrant children being separated from their families since the federal government started prosecuting anyone who crosses a border illegally.
KCRA3's Max Resnick has been following the rally at the state capitol, talking to marchers. She joins us now live with more on what they're saying.
Walter Cathy, good evening. This group wants the Trump administration to end its so-called zero tolerance policy and work to reunite separated families now. A big turnout in downtown Sacramento today. We're under the American flag outside U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Protesters called for separated children to be reunited with their parents now.
Getting separated from the only people you know, not speaking the language, that just makes absolutely no sense to me.
Some 2,000 children remain separated from their parents after being taken by federal authorities under the Trump administration's zero tolerance policy for people crossing into the U.S. illegally. Backlash across the country led President Trump to sign an executive order to keep families together.
No ban, no wall. It's not enough to demand that children should stop being ripped away from their families. It's not enough to demand that families get incarcerated together. We're out here demanding the abolishment of ICE.
Elena Perez helped organize the Sacramento Families Belong Together rally.
End family separation permanently. End indefinite detention for families and for people who are seeking asylum at the border.
The rally became a march late this morning as hundreds broke off to protest through the streets of downtown, something Perez called spontaneous. Their hope that the Trump administration hears their pleas.
I would say to think of his own family and how, if they were in this situation, how he would feel about it.
Earlier this week, a federal judge ordered officials to reunite families, specifically children under the age of 5 within 14 days and children 5 and older within 30 days. Sacramento police and the California Highway Patrol made no arrests in today's peaceful protests. Walter?
Max, thanks for that report. Meanwhile, President Trump tweeting on immigration today. He wrote that the United States should escort anyone who comes into the country illegally back out without, quote, years of legal maneuvering. He also called our immigration laws dumb. Well, a bump in pay in the Bay Area. Up next, the changes to the minimum wage going into effect in San Francisco.
Plus, shelling out more money to cross a Golden Gate Bridge. We'll break down the toll increase. Well,
the fight for $15 an hour, increasing costs for rent, food, and transportation have some advocating for higher minimum wages.
Tomorrow, San Francisco will become the first major U.S. city to increase its minimum wage to $15 an hour. Christina Rendon spoke with those looking forward to more money in their paycheck.
For a city as expensive as San Francisco, every penny counts for minimum wage employees.
Yo me siento feliz, estoy contenta.
Elizabeth Montiel, a housekeeper who lives on Treasure Island, says she's happy the minimum wage will increase to $15 an hour on Sunday.
As of July 1st, our minimum wage will be $15 an hour.
She was among the group of elected officials, labor unions, and workers' rights groups celebrating at City Hall.
The $15 demand was considered impossible when it first was said, right? And we made the impossible possible. It is with a lot of sacrifices that low-wage workers come forward, tell the truth about experiencing wage theft and not being able to survive on their wages.
The minimum wage increase was the vision of late Mayor Ed Lee, whose ballot measure was approved by voters in 2014. Current Mayor Mark Farrell says there's still a long way to go, especially when it comes to keeping low-income earners in a city with high housing costs.
It's a combination of making sure we build as much affordable housing as possible. That's really why this discussion around affordable housing, it affects everybody in San Francisco.
It is challenging to pay people more in a very tight labor market. It is necessary to pay people more.
Gwyneth Borden, executive director of the Golden Gate Restaurant Association, says it's also getting more difficult for restaurants to thrive. Some small restaurants like Suvla are making it work, offering an alternative model to combat high labor and high rent costs. The Greek restaurant is considered high-end, fast, fine dining, where customers get their own water and can get in and out quicker than a traditional full-service restaurant.
It basically allows you to have great volume, a great experience, great food, great service. People still do bring your food to your table and greet you when you walk in the door.
Employees here are paid above minimum wage and have full benefits. For low-income earners, their fight isn't over.
Labor unions and community groups can work together to ensure that we continue to lift up the lowest paid workers in our city.
Well, San Francisco is not alone in the minimum wage hike. Emeryville will also be increasing its minimum wage on Sunday for small employers. The state of California upped the minimum wage this year to $11 an hour for large businesses, and those are businesses with more than 26 employees. Now, smaller organizations still have to pay $10.50. The plan is for everyone working for minimum wage in California to get $15 per hour by the year 2023.
And paying more to head to San Francisco. Here's why. Tolls on the Golden Gate Bridge will cost an additional quarter. Some drivers will pay as much as $8 each to enter San Francisco from the north starting tomorrow. Those with fast track accounts will pay $7 each, and carpools during rush hour cost $5 per vehicle. The increase is the last and fare hike scheduled over the last 5 years by the Golden Gate Bridge District, which maintains a span. The district is facing a $3.9 million deficit.
All right, we are going to turn now to the KCRA 3 forecast. We had triple-digit heat today. People were out on the water taking in the sun and trying to cool off with a boat ride. A little surprising they were on the boat and not actually in the water cooling off. Here's KCRA meteorologist Dirk Verdorn with more on what's happening.
Yeah, even though temperatures are pretty hot outside, that water's still pretty chilly. So you jump in, jump out, you know, make in and out of the boat to keep yourself cool, moderate things a bit. Right now we have conditions that are fairly clear overhead. Temperatures, it's still hot. It's 100 degrees out at the Executive Airport, and we have the northwest wind blowing at 12 miles per hour. That's keeping the humidities down. We're at 19% humidity right now. 103 degrees currently in Stockton with the northwest wind blowing at 14 miles per hour. Again, that's a drying wind. It's a warming wind, and it's making for that high fire danger that we have here in Northern California today. Modesto, 100 degrees with a northwest wind blowing at 13 miles per hour, and conditions around Fairfield, the smoky skies. You look off to the west, and it's just the skies covered with smoke at this point. We have humidities that are at 21%. We have a wind at 14 miles per hour and a current temperature of 98 degrees. Lake Tahoe, currently 76 degrees, northeast wind blowing at 7 miles per hour with plenty of sunshine overhead. It's going to be a clear night tonight, and temperatures will cool down in Lake Tahoe, but it's going to be a slower process for those folks in the valley because we had some decent heat today. Temperatures did make their way up to 102 degrees in Sacramento. Marysville, you had a daytime high today of 105 degrees. Stockton, 104 degrees, 102 in Fairfield. We had 100 degrees in Modesto, 97 in Auburn, and 81 degrees was your daytime high in Truckee. Red flag warning is up, and it's going to stay up until we get into Sunday, and that's when we should see a shift in the wind. So right now we still have that northerly flow making its way through. We have the hot temperatures and the very dry conditions that make that fire danger so high. That shift in the wind is going to help bring up the humidities a bit, and it's just going to help to drop our temperatures as well. And so that at least helps the situation. Fire danger is still going to be there. It's just not going to be as great as what we're experiencing right now. Marine layer is starting to make its way up from the south, and that's great news for the Bay Area. Get some relief from the heat also in through Santa Cruz, Monterey. Those areas having the low cloud cover move in is going to drop temperatures tremendously. Futurecast shows the winds and the shift that we're experiencing. We still have that northerly flow right now, but that's going to be turning to more of a westerly wind or an onshore breeze as we head from Sunday on into Monday. And that's when we see that shift. You can see here by Sunday evening, nice breeze from San Francisco on into the valley. Fairfield, 21-mile-an-hour wind coming from the west, and with a bit of marine layer, that's really going to help to drop off temperatures. Will cool off nicely as we make our way through Sunday night and into Monday morning. Your forecast for the Sierra tomorrow, sunny skies and temperatures warming up. We're looking at mid-80s for Lake Tahoe and Truckee. Quincy, 92 degrees, 89 degrees the forecast for Pollock Pines for a daytime high. Temperatures in through the foothills from Sonora, 96, 96 in Jackson, 97 Auburn and Grass Valley, 95 degrees after a fairly warm start again for your Sunday morning. Temperatures will be warming into the upper 60s to lower 70s around San Francisco. That's a nice drop in temperatures. If you want to cool off, that's a great place to go. 98 in Lakeport still, though, with temperatures in the 90s for Fairfield and Antioch, but it's going to be the lower 90s, not the triple digits that we experienced today. 99 in Stockton, so still some heat. We could still get up to about 100 degrees in Modesto and Turlock for your Sunday afternoon. It's not till we get into Monday that we really see more significant cooling in through, again, places like Turlock and Modesto and on towards Yuba City. So we're still forecasting triple digits from Woodland through Yuba City, Roseville, and Folsom. 99 in Sacramento, so again, slightly cooler. 7-day forecast shows temperatures dropping off into the mid-90s by Monday, and then we get into the 80s for Tuesday and Wednesday for the 4th of July, which could be the coolest day of the week. to get into the 80s there, and then we start warming up by next weekend, and we're going to be pushing back close to 100 degrees. But that's kind of a nice little break from the heat through the weekend.
Nice little treat for our holiday.
Yep.
All right, Dirk, thanks. We are days away from the California State Fair. Still to come tonight, we take a look at a new sweet addition to the fair that everyone is buzzing about.
Sacramento's most trusted afternoon news, KCRA 3 News at 4.
Two bulls were fighting. Bam, hit the truck.
I could feel the barbed wire was just digging into the paint.
Another ding, another scratch. It'll just be another chapter in the story.
Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting, full-size pickups on the road. Get 18% of MSRP cash back on all Silverado 1500 Crew Cab LT pickups when you finance with GM Financial. That's $9,000 on this Silverado All-Star. See your Northern California Chevy dealer.
The Apple Cider Vinegar Detox
can help you recover from a cheat day.
Your weapon for weight loss.
It has the ability to really reduce cravings.
See how you can take it with every meal. Plus, is the Greek yogurt you're buying in the grocery store fake?
We sent about 40 yogurt samples over to the lab,
revealing which are nothing more than junk food in disguise. A Dr. Oz investigation. Next Oz.
Monday at 3 on KCRA 3.
After a damaging earthquake, the dawn we woke up to today could look completely different come tomorrow. Protect your home with earthquake insurance. Learn more at earthquakeauthority.com.
McCreary's Home Furnishings 4th of July sale starts now. Save on all furniture store-wide for one of the biggest sales of the summer. Come discover huge discounts on great brands like Flexsteel, Bradington Young, Hooker Furniture, Huntington House Upholstery, and more. Need design assistance? Let our interior design team bring it all together with our complimentary design services. Hurry in today. Our 4th of July sale ends soon. It's all happening now under the big red awnings.
Its technology was engineered to see, with its standard pedestrian detection system and pre-collision system, while its cutting-edge styling was meant to be seen. Experience the 2018 Lexus NX and the NX Hybrid with a class-leading 31 mpg combined estimate.
Lease the 2018 NX 300 for $329 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Billions of mouths, billions of problems. Dry mouth, parched mouth, cotton mouth, there's a TheraBreath for you. TheraBreath oral rinse and lozenges help relieve dry mouth using natural enzymes to soothe and moisturize. So you can breathe easy. There's TheraBreath at Walmart.
I couldn't believe the turnout. It was awesome.
A big turnout in Folsom for the first annual historic Folsom Hometown Parade and Block Party. Families crowded Sutter Street to celebrate this event.
Yeah, 2018 is the first year for the parade. As KCRA 3's Leticia Ordaz reports, the patriotic event is bringing the community together.
Clydesdale sisters Angel and Rosebud made a big appearance in Folsom.
It's really neat to be a part of it. We have 3 wagons in it.
Cheryl Pritchett says her horses fit right into the theme of the historic Folsom's Hometown Parade.
We live in Wilton, and we were just saying, maybe we should move to Folsom. It's really cool over here. It's really a neat hometown feeling.
Families who came out to Sutter Street got all dressed up in red, white, and blue.
I love my dress.
5-year-old Brooke is making her debut mutton busting this weekend. As she prepares to see how long she can ride a sheep without falling, her mom says the hometown parade and festivities are a genius idea.
I think it's great for businesses. Everyone's here. They'll, spend their money shopping, restaurants, hotels. I think it'll be, a great event for the city to have every year.
With the extreme heat, the Pink Ice Cream Cart Company became one of the most sought-after vendors.
I have 3 carts, and all 3 of us were in the parade, so I've got them strategically placed on Sutter Street today.
The owner, Mary Beth Hackership, says she is seeing more green this weekend and more Folsom pride.
I've been here for about 26 years, and this is the first time they've pretty much done a hometown parade.
For the block party, the Orford Prison Marching Kazoo Band stole the show.
I think it's wonderful. They stole us today. Usually the warden charges a premium price for us to come out and perform for the public. They got us for real cheap.
I just think it brings people together, and it's just kind of like an old-fashioned hometown parade, exactly what they were going for.
Historic Folsom's Hometown Parade brought hundreds of people out, and many people in Folsom say they can't wait until next year. In Folsom, Leticia Ordaz, KCRA 3 News.
Sort of a great tradition, and organizers say the last time Sutter Street had a parade like this was 60 years ago. And also in Folsom, the Folsom Pro Rodeo is happening this weekend. You can meet the country's top rodeo stars, including the animals, also enjoy some food and live music. Both tonight and tomorrow, the event kicks off at 6 o'clock, so it's happening right now. Then at 10 o'clock, there will be fireworks. For details on the tickets, just head over to the KCRA 3 app.
Well, we are just 13 days away from the California State Fair, and most people think about the rides, the games, and music, but the food is just as popular. And this year, one item that will be a new addition is honey. Now, KCRA got a sneak peek at honey tasting classes, which will be offered there. It's called the Honey Experience, and you can learn about different types of honeys, from coriander honey to blackberry honey, and so many more. All of them taste different naturally, and some of them are savory, others sweet, or even salty. And you can pre-register for the Honey Experience classes. That will be online at the State Fair website, and it is only $5.
Not bad. Salty honey, never heard of that. Kind of give it a shot. All right. Well, the search continues for a missing youth soccer team in Thailand. Up next on the KCRA 3 News at 6, it's a race against time for rescue teams to find those children.
Plus, changes to marijuana sales in California, what businesses will now have to do in order to sell pot.
This is KCRA 3. We begin with breaking news.
And we go back to that breaking news out of Yolo County as a county fire is tearing through dense forest area on steep hills. It has now grown to 1,000 acres. Firefighters working quickly to attack the flames on the ground and by air as several structures are being threatened in the area. So let's head back to KCRA 3's Tom Miller, who is there live at the scene with the latest. Tom.
Well, Kathy, I want to show you what's burning out here. This golden weed that California is very famous for. You can see these hills are just covered in it, and that's what's burning. You can also see all these oak trees off in the distance. That's what's burning. So all the smoke you're seeing coming up from the fire, it's just a huge area where this fire continues to burn, and we can't even show you all of it. But we wanted to get up on this hill to give you some perspective. So you can just see the smoke sort of rising along the ridge line. 1,000 acres is the latest estimate in terms of the size of the fire, and it is very difficult to access. We are off of a back road. This is not a paved road just to get to where we are. You can see that flare up off there in the distance. And so the firefighters have sort of had to make their own roads and just sort of rolled through these hills to get up into where the foothills sort of start to become a little more mountainous. The primary attack on this fire is going to be from the air, just because this terrain is so difficult to access. But we've also seen a lot of crews going in by ground. I want to show you some video we took earlier. This just gives some perspective on how big the plume is from a different angle. And you could also see there was a lot of ground crews, those fire crews that just go in there with tools, chainsaws, with hose, and just sort of tear up at the earth to try to really create a fire break. This is just outside of the town of Gwinda. A lot of people have sort of gathered on the side of the road as this fire just continues to burn. And I want to just go back out here live. You can see just, another little flare up there. That's going to produce a lot of smoke. And firefighters, I know they're worried. They're saying the fire is spreading to the south. Again, not a lot of homes out here, but there are a few, and so those people have been evacuated. Firefighters have surrounded those homes, making sure that, priority number one, they don't lose any structures. Live in Yolo County, Tom Miller, KCRA 3 News.
All right, our Tom Miller live from near the front lines. Thanks.
In Thailand, rescue teams continue their desperate search for missing youth soccer team. The group has been missing for a week now, stranded in a dark and complex cave system. Today, rescuers are drilling holes into the mountain to drop food and supplies into the caves, but teams still don't know exactly where the 12 boys and their coach are right now. And
today, emergency crews outside of the cave system are practicing drills near the caves in anticipation for when the team is found. But hope is starting to run thin.
NBC's Lucy Kavanaugh has a look look at what rescue teams are up against in their ongoing search.
Well, it's a race against time to save the missing schoolboys. Rescue teams have been working day and night to try to figure out where they might be trapped inside that flooded cave complex. The terrain rocky and remote. Underground, there are miles of narrow tunnels and caves. And with torrential rains pouring down, the floodwaters are rising up. Rescuers have been drilling wells to try to pump out that water, hoping the boys have somehow found dry ground. Now, they've been helped by a team of 32 American soldiers from the U.S. Pacific Command in Hawaii, along with British and European cave diving experts. But the passageways are so tight that divers can only use one oxygen tank at a time, limiting the distance they can cover. Mud and debris blocking the way.
And that was NBC's Lucy Kafanov reporting. The boys, ranging in age from 11 to 16, and their 25-year-old coach entered that cave after a soccer game last Saturday. Their bikes, bags, and cleats still at the entrance. Distraught parents are holding a vigil and are hoping for a miracle. Meantime, heavy rain caused a landslide in central Japan. A hill slope collapsed, causing a landslide more than 300 feet high and 165 feet wide on Friday. The first floors of the homes in the foothills were covered in mud. Residents were busy cleaning up when the rain stopped today. Some train lines were suspended because mud and logs fell onto the train tracks. The National Security Agency says it is deleting hundreds of millions of phone records collected since 2015. They're called Call Detail Records, or CDRS, and the files come from American telecommunication companies. CDRs record details of phone calls, but not their content. The NSA says it's deleting the files because it learned the agency isn't authorized to have some of them. The problem is it doesn't know which ones those are, so all of the files have to go.
Well, phase one of a multi-million-dollar commuter train project is getting underway. Service would extend from Salinas to Gilroy and then on to the rest of the Bay Area. Now, before the commuter service arrives, big changes are coming to Salinas. A long-standing downtown icon, the Frank's Fish Market sign, has been removed. And that means demolition of about 6 buildings in front of the train station can begin in August.
We're going to, bring jobs and options to Monterey County residents to be able to commute back and forth to the Bay Area, or just for somebody that wants to go to a ball game or go shopping, or it's folks that are in school. This gives us alternatives to help relieve congestion along the local highways.
Now, the project is $81 million and 20 years in the making.
Big sales on marijuana. Many businesses are slashing prices on pot right now, just hours away from new regulations that will tighten up sales requirements.
KCRA 3's Kevin Oliver explains the changes coming to marijuana sales in California.
We're here to take advantage of the discounts that are going down.
With sale prices as low as anyone has ever seen them, marijuana users were hitting up dispensaries like it just became legal.
Not really stocking up, because honestly I've been trying to cut down a little over the past couple months. But when opportunity comes up like this, you can kind of grab a little bit to put on the shelf.
Dispensaries were trying to get rid of all their inventory, which doesn't meet the new state regulations, which go into effect on Sunday.
A lot of these products have had their first panel of testing, but we're needing their second panel of testing.
A laundry list of new testing, packaging, and labeling requirements which go into effect.
Bottom line, this is going to be a huge disruptor for the marketplace. And before July 1st and after July 1st are going to be two very different sets of conditions.
For consumers, marijuana can no longer be sold fresh out of a jar deli style. Next week, it will have to come already weighed out, pre-packaged and sealed up. Growers will have to ensure they've complied too.
Growers will learn that they need to use different practices. There are pesticides that are in common use, for example, that won't be allowed in the marketplace. And, it's really a unique situation here where these pesticides may be safe to use on things that are eaten, but when you burn the chemicals, something entirely different results.
Regulations that are supposed to ensure marijuana sold in California is clean and safe, but with a higher price tag. But there are some businesses that are holding out hope that the state government will either extend the deadline or change some of its regulations so that millions of dollars worth of marijuana won't have to be destroyed. In Sacramento, Kevin Oliver, KCRA 3 News.
Now, the United Cannabis Business Association recently sent a letter to Governor Brown saying that the changes would unsettle the struggling legal marketplace, potentially forcing businesses to close their doors. Now, the group said that the 30 licensed labs that would test pot would be unable to handle the demand, resulting in a shortage of products on shelves. A system intended to track plants from seed to sale has been delayed, and packaging companies are not ready to meet the new rules.
Still ahead, closing the gender gap. Up next, how one group of women are hoping to increase diversity in Silicon Valley.
And we're taking a look at some changes that are going to bring some cooler weather to Northern California. I'll let you know when that's going to happen coming up.
All right, we have some more breaking news that we are following. A vegetation fire burning at the Folsom Lake Recreation Area. CAL FIRE is telling us that the fire is burning on Oak Beach. It's about 5 acres in size right now. Officials say that that fire is under control, but there are evacuation advisories that are still in place for nearby homes, but nothing mandatory at Granite Bay Beach. We have a crew on the way to the scene, and we will bring you any updates as we get them.
Well, Silicon Valley is known for its lack of diversity. Women make up less than a third of employees at tech giants, including Apple and Google. And female founders drew just 2% of venture capitalist dollars last year alone. As Julia Borson shows us, a group of 6 women are trying to change that by investing in other women's ideas.
My daughter is like doing Seema Sistani became COO of video chat platform House Party while pregnant with her second child.
There's a prototype here of the startup founder being white, single, young male, and who's dedicating their entire life subsisting on ramen noodles to build an empire. And unfortunately, that didn't look like me.
She was convinced by angel investor Chloe Sladden to leave an executive job at Yahoo's Tumblr to co-found House Party, a big risk in exchange for potentially big upside, a chunk of shares on the company's cap table.
The cap table is the legal document that records who's going to make money when a successful startup exits. The cap table is more than a legal document, though. It is the roadmap to power in Silicon Valley, because the wealth that is created from the cap table funds the next generations of startups.
Sladden's investing collective, called #Angels, is focused on getting startups to allocate more shares to women. The Angels host dozens of events to discuss the cap table gap and coach women to push for more shares.
When you're negotiating for equity, there's no real roadmap to understand how you can value the equity, how much growth the company is going to have. And so if we think that in general, it's been harder for women and underrepresented minorities to even negotiate as well for the equity.
The Angels draw on their network to help place women in senior roles at early stage startups. They partner with venture capital investors, including Sequoia and Kleiner Perkins. First Round Capital's Finn Barnes has collaborated with the Angels on an investing boot camp and on a number of deals.
Their networks tended to be majority female and equally amazing to any other network that we could tap into. And so it really helped us sort of bring the diversity of their networks into our community at First Round.
The next step for the Angels, pushing startups to disclose the diversity of their cap tables.
Understanding what percentage of the cap table do women and underrepresented minorities own is going to be a watershed moment in the industry, just as getting the initial diversity reports were.
And in the meantime, the Angels are working to change Silicon Valley's power imbalance by helping executives like Sistani make sure female employees get their fair share.
Well, the Angels have invested in more than 60 companies over the last 3 years, working with founders to explain the upside they'll have in attracting top talent if they offer more shares to female hires.
All right, we are turning now to the KCRA 3 forecast. Another hot one out there today. But as you can see here, there was a breeze. This flag is flapping in the wind, and it is located in downtown Sacramento. This was happening earlier today. The north winds are still a factor, though, in fire danger concerns.
Yeah, definitely not helping firefighters out there. Dirk, let's check back in with you with more on the current conditions.
Yeah, that north wind is a warm wind, and so it brings maybe a little relief, but it's a dry wind as well. Again, not good for fighting fires or if you have high fire danger. So be very careful out there through today, tonight, and into tomorrow. We're still looking at a high fire danger. Right now, current conditions, temperatures, they're hot. 100 degrees currently in Sacramento. Stockton's at 103 degrees. Modesto at 100 degrees in Lake Tahoe. One of the cooler spots at 76 degrees. with sunny skies across the board. Temperatures are running a bit warmer than we were yesterday, anywhere from 3 to 7 degrees warmer around Lake Tahoe and Truckee, 4 to 6 degrees warmer in the valley and through the Bay Area as well as the Delta. So temperatures are up. But the good news is they're not going to stay up. We do see some relief from the heat as we go through the days ahead, but right now we're still over that north wind through Yuba City and Sacramento, and that of course makes its way through Stockton and Modesto, and that north wind is going to be with us overnight tonight, but should shift as we head through tomorrow. So officially daytime high in Sacramento, 103 degrees was the official daytime high. Average for this time of year, 91, and the record for this date, 112 degrees. So nowhere near that. Air quality forecast for tomorrow. We are looking at conditions that are going to be moderate with the ozone levels expected in, excuse me, in Sacramento, Stockton, and for Modesto. Satellite view showing us some of the hints at some changes coming our way, and it comes in the form of the marine layer along the California coastline. That is going to in turn help to cool things off in the Bay Area, and eventually as we get into well, Monday, Tuesday, it's going to cool things off in through the valley as well. So we have some cooler air coming in. High pressure ridge currently off the coast of California. We have that flow coming up and over that ridge and diving down across the valley, and it funnels through the Sacramento Valley, and that's where we get those north winds and the dry conditions and the warm conditions associated with that. But things are going to change as we head through the coming days. Look at this. We have an area of low pressure that's going to develop, kind of push that ridge out of the way, and this is going to cool things off, especially as we hit midweek. So from Tuesday on into Wednesday, just in time for the 4th of July, temperatures are going to be dropping. We can see daytime highs in the 80s, mid to low 80s in some locations, but there is some heat that's here to our east, and this is going to be battling this cooler air mass that's along the coast of California. And so here we sit just kind of right in between, and we'll have that onshore breeze, which should help out with things. But as we get towards next weekend, it looks like the heat could move in and temperatures climbing back into the triple digits. So for the next few days in the Sierra, sunny skies, temperatures will be dropping from the mid 80s on Sunday into the 70s by Tuesday. So we'll see a little bit of bump in temperatures tomorrow. 7-day forecast has conditions that will gradually be cooling. In fact, again, by Tuesday, Wednesday, should see temperatures in the 80s just in time for the 4th of July. And then beyond that, we're looking at warming as we head towards next weekend. So conditions are going to heat up again, but a noticeable cool down for the 4th of July. So when you're watching the fireworks, it should be nice, comfortable.
Yeah,
right.
Much needed.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Dirk. Thanks. World Cup fever. A lot of people losing some sleep this week.
Exactly. And that's why I'm one of them. Of course, double trouble for two soccer greats at the World Cup. Plus, Elk Grove's Kyle Larson looks for his second Xfinity Series victory of the season. We head to Chicagoland next in sports.
Now, KCRA3 Sports, powered by Toyota.
Let the round of 16 begin of the 2018 FIFA World Cup. We start with Uruguay and Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo still looking for his first career goal in the knockout round. Portugal with the corner kick in the 55th minute, and it's Pepe netting the header to tie this game 1-1. But the tie doesn't last very long. Edinson Cavani bends it just right for the goal to give Uruguay the lead. Uruguay wins it 2-1 to win the match, and they do advance to the quarterfinals for the first time since 1970. France and Argentina tied at 1 in the 48th minute. Following a corner kick, Lionel Messi's shot takes a mean deflection off of Gabriel Mercado, and it's into the net for the 2-1 Argentina lead. But the 19-year-old Kylian Mbappe scoring his first of his 2 goals here in the 64th minute. He collects the rebound, fires into the empty net, and Mbappe becomes the first teenager since Pele in 1958 to score a brace. That's 2 goals in a World Cup. France eliminates Argentina 4-3. They'll take on Uruguay next. Republic get back to work tonight on the road as they travel to Fresno. Kickoff for that one is set for 7 p.m. I just want to remind you, 7 p.m. with all that action on My58 and Estrella TV. The red-hot Oakland Athletics looking to extend their win streak to 6 straight games. We go to the Coliseum. Of course, A's down 2 in the bottom of the 6th. No more as Josh Phegley sends the 2-run shot to left to tie this game up at 2 apiece. A 3-run 6th inning for the Athletics, and then a 4-run 8th inning as Matt Olson homers. Towers this one out to right center. That seals the deal. A's winning 12 of their last 14 games, 7 straight, by the way, against Cleveland, 7-2. As for the Giants, they're looking to gain some ground on the first place team in the National League West. That is the Arizona Diamondbacks. 7 p.m. And oh, by the way, the Giants are having their first winning month since June of 2016. It looks as though Logan Couture is staying in San Jose. The Sharks and the forward agreeing to an 8-year contract extension worth $8 million per season, but can't officially sign that extension until Sunday. The 29-year-old poured in a career-high 34 goals this past season, ranks 4th on San Jose's all-time goals list. Elk Grove's Kyle Larson starting out in front for the Xfinity race at Chicagoland Speedway. A hot and humid day with the temperatures hovering around 93 degrees and a 65% humidity. Well, the Northern California native rookie Tyler Reddick out of Corning wins the first stage. And then after winning the pole, Larson was sent to the rear for an unapproved tire change, but rallies back to win stage 2. And then it's Larson claiming his 10th Xfinity career victory, his 2nd of the season, with that win at Chicagoland. Round 3 of the Quicken Loans National from Maryland. It's moving day and a warm one at that. 92-degree temperatures on the course. 9th hole here. 2-time Quicken Loans champ Tiger Woods. Here he is, sinks this birdie putt to go out with a 32, carding 5 birdies on the front 9. Abraham Ancer drops this birdie putt on the 18th to give him sole possession of first place at 13 under, tying a course record with a 62 today. Zach Blair, the standout from BYU, sinks this birdie on the par 4 14th. His 4th birdie in the last 5 holes there. He sits tied for 3rd. As for Tiger on the 18, he posts his 4th bogey of the day, a round of 68 for El Tigre. And we look at that leaderboard. Ancer and Francisco Molinari, they're tied at the top at 13 under, 2-stroke lead over Blair and Ryan Armour. Tiger is tied for 10th, while Dixon's Nick Watney is 1 over. To the Broadmoor Resort now for round 3 of the 39th U.S. Senior Open. Sacramento's own Kevin Sutherland on the par 3 4th hole. And check out this long birdie putt on the toughest green on the course. And he nails it to move to even. Par 4 6th hole. Jerry Kelly's 2nd shot. He gets the bounce that he wants, and this one rolls just short of the cup. He would tap in for the easy birdie. Par 4 18th. Kelly sinking this short putt to head into the clubhouse with a 1-shot lead after a round of 71. So we look at this leaderboard as Kelly does own a 1-stroke lead over David Toms. Sacramento Sutherland sits tied for 8th at even, while Rancho Murrieta's Scott McCarron is 10 over par. To the LPGA now in the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. The ladies doing what they can to stay cool. 95 degrees, of course, heat there. Nasa Haraoka from Japan walking with an ice bag on her head to stay cool. Annie Park on the par 5 15th, dials from long distance to drop the birdie. She sits at 3 under, tied for 10th. Fantastic putt there. South Korea's So Yeon-yu sinks this birdie putt on the par 4 14th, holds a 3-stroke lead heading into Sunday's final round. A lot of golf going on this weekend.
All right, Michelle, thank you.
All right, we have an update that we want to share with you. This is a vegetation fire that was burning at the Folsom Lake Recreation Area. CAL FIRE now says that it has been contained. There's an extensive cleanup underway right now in this area after several wood piles had burned and sparked this fire. And you are looking at a live look right now. You can see these water drops being made to put out those hot spots.
Yeah, crews still on the scene right now because obviously there are still some hot spots they continue to monitor, and obviously we mentioned that it is hot, low humidity, windy out there, so making it very difficult for firefighters throughout our region as they deal with the firefight. But this one I know it flared up within probably the past hour or so, but looks like they have a lot of crews on the scene making sure that this fire does not flare up again. But once again, this is a live look at the Folsom Lake Rec area where they have a good handle on this fire. They have it contained, and they're at the scene just continuing the mop-up efforts.
Yeah, we know that the area was burning in the Oak Beach area, and that about 5 acres had been charged. So good news that it's under containment, and it looks like they have this one under control. All right, before we go, let's get one last check of the weather.
Yeah, please be excessively careful today because of the fire danger is so high. We have the north wind is very dry out there. It doesn't take hardly anything, so please just maybe we'll hold off on the fireworks today. It gets a little bit better as we get closer to the 4th of July as temperatures are going to be dropping down. In fact, take a look at the forecast, and we have temperatures that are eventually going to make their way into the 80s. So Wednesday looking pretty good for the 4th of July in the mid-80s.
All right, and our next newscast is tonight at 10 on My 58. We hope you join us. We'll see you then.